Oh, the title of this video is Possibilism, Chronology of Definitions and Semantics. Chronology of first uses of possibilism in 1879. We call political possibilism in 1932, geographical possibilism, 1978, philosophical possibilism, and 2024, general possibilism. Okay, I'm going to go to various online dictionaries and what their definition of possibilism is. Now, Merriam Webster says possibilism is the beliefs and practices of possibilists. Okay, well, a possibilist is a member of a political party. This is political possibilism. I have links to all these pages if you want to read more in depth. And if I did that, this 20-minute video would probably be an hour long if I went into great depth. So, and by the way, if you don't want to listen to all 20 minutes, just jump ahead to, and I'll have chapters that will be where each definition is in their time. Okay, here's Collins Dictionary's definition of possibilism. They go into geography and politics. Dictionary.com's definition of possibilism. They say sociology, which I would say is known as geography. Here we got geographical determinism and politics. And here's Wikipedia's entry for possibilism. They talk about geographic possibilism, political possibilism, philosophical possibilism, mathematical possible theory, and libertarian possibilism, which is really a form of political possibilism. And they also reference possibilianism, which really isn't possibilism, but it's a similar enough spelling that people might be curious to what that means. Okay, political possibilism. Politics is the art of the possible, the attainable, the art of the next best, says Otto von Bismarck in 1867. Political possibilism is about what reforms are possible politically and whether a possible reform is better or more preferable or not than not choosing the reform or choosing a different possible reform. Again, I go back to Merriam Webster's Dictionary of Political Possibilism. Okay, Socialist Possibilists were a faction of the Federation of Socialist Workers' Party of France in 1879. Libertarian Possibilists were anarcho-syndicalists of the Confederación Nacional del Trabajo of Spain in 1931, advocated working within Spain's parliament to achieve possible reforms, at least until the revolution becomes possible. Again, this is Wikipedia's entry for Libertarian Possibilism. Modern Libertarian Possibilists, including the Libertarian Party in the United States and Canada and many other countries, unlike classical Libertarian Possibilists, are more like classical liberals and liberal Democrats who defend private land ownership, private enterprise, and privatization. Classical libertarians were more skeptical of private property and privatization. Other modern political possibilists include social democrats or democratic socialists and liberal democrats, among others. Political impossibilism is a Marxist theory that asserts that reforms under a capitalist system are inadequate and counterproductive to socialist goals and helps sustain capitalism. Okay, now we're going to talk about geographical possibilism. Lucien Febvre wrote in his book, A Geographical Introduction to the History There are no necessities, but everywhere possibilities. Here's Britannica and online Encyclopedia entry about possibilism. They call it anthropological or environmental ecological, but it's generally known as geographical. Here's the human geography knowledge bases entry into Geographical Possibilism. And here's Fiveable's entry on Geographical Possibilism. Geographical Possibilism is also known as anthropological possibilism, cultural possibilism, ecological possibilism, environmental possibilism, and human possibilism. Geographical possibilism is human and other living things' adaptability to a local environment, including arid and inhospitable environments, to sustain human life and life in general. Geographical possibilism has been contrasted with geographical determinism, not to be confused with causal determinism. I mean by causal determinism, it's a theory of cause and effect, and the effect is another cause, and it's a chain reaction, and it's unbreakable, and it's sort of like billiard balls being bounced around in a pool table. One ball hits another ball that hits another ball. That kind of determinism. It's not that. Geographical determinism is the influence a local environment and its resources has to attract and sustain human life. Okay, now we're getting to philosophical possibilism. 1978, its definition is denial of actualism. In 1986, the possible worlds exist and possible things exist. 1989, anything is possible. In 2024, possibilism theory of time. There are many possible futures, but only one actual future. In 1978, denial of actualism, or as I would like to call it, the counter thesis to actualism. Actualism was first described by Bernard Bolzano in his 1837 four-volume set of books, Theory of Science. Bertrand Russell in 1903 and C.I. Lewis in 1943 wrote about actualism. Many internet websites discuss actualism, possibilism debate. Here's Wikipedia's entry in actualism. Okay. Patricia Greenspan, in her 1978 article, Odds and Determinism, a Response to Goldman, does not offer a formal definition of possibilism, but defends the view by way of rejecting Holly Goldman's actualist principle. And this was from Actualism and Possibilism in Ethics in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, 2009. And here's the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Actually, this is in the middle of the entire article that was cited in the previous frame. This is about definitions. Okay. 1986, David Lewis, in his book On the Plurality of Worlds, wrote, possible worlds exist and possible things exist, and about modal realism. I don't know, you could call it maybe modal actualism. Depending on how possible things and exist are defined, their definitions will determine the truth of possible things exist. Same can be asserted about the possible worlds exist and the definition of worlds. Think of the broadest, most inclusive common use definition of thing. Things include tangible and material objects. The universe, including its empty space, is a thing. Worlds are things. Light could be a thing when it exhibits particle qualities. Are waves and energy things? Are thoughts and beliefs things? Are actions and events things? Are consequences things? Are possibilities things? Is time a thing? Well, I guess it may or may not be, depending on how broad a definition of thing you want a thing to be. Think of the broadest, most inclusive common use definition of exist. Tangible material objects exist, as well as abstract, immaterial, intangible, invisible, and the imaginable. Abstract numbers and concepts, immaterial and invisible space, intangible light, and imaginable thoughts and beliefs exist. Possibilities are abstractions that exist. 1989, Chris Mortensen, in his article, Anything is Possible, wrote, Possibilism, ... all propositions are possible or possibly true, that all propositions are contingent and no proposition is necessary. Here's a JSTOR abstract of his article. I think you can pay money to actually buy or read the entire article, but if you can at least read this much of it and maybe get more out of it than what I've been describing. And I have to give credit to Kane Baker and his YouTube channel, Kane B, put out a recent video called Possibilism, where Kane defines possibilism as anything is possible. And so that's where I found the reference to the Chris Mortensen article. And I thank him, and I highly recommend his channel. He has some very excellent videos on philosophy and a wide variety of topics, and I think you'll find him very informative. Okay. What would make anything as possible true? Any possible thing is possible. No possible thing is impossible, and no impossible thing is possible. Now that's assuming there's no transition between impossible and possible. That is, it's somewhere in between where it may be both possible and impossible, or neither possible or impossible. I look at it as more of a binary thing, black and white, no grays in between. But mathematical possibility theory assigns the value of 0 to 1, so they quantify it in some way. Okay, 2024. I, Rich Birkett, propose my possibilism theory of time, in which many futures are possible, but only one future is actual. Unactualized possibilities could continue to be available in the present or future, or not, and could become unavailable or impossible later or never, depending on constraints to actualize possibilities. View my video, Possibilism Theory of Time, by clicking on the link in the description. This is a screenshot of my YouTube video, Possibilism Theory of Time. And it turns out later, I did not know about this, Robinson's podcast, I assume this is Robinson, I don't know if that's his first or last name, did a YouTube video called Presentism, Possibilism, and Eternalism in the Philosophy of Time with two guests. And if you watch the video, they really don't know anything about it. They do talk about eternalism and presentism, but not possibilism. And I wonder where Robinson got the idea. Maybe he saw my video. And in 2023, Yishai, Cohen, and Travis Timmerman wrote in their article, Probabilism, an open future solution to the actualism possibilism debate, that probabilism resolves the conflicting intuitions that arise between actualist and possibilist, and maintains certain distinct advantages over actualism and possibilism. And here's the Cambridge University abstract on it. I guess it was published in the American Philosophical Association. I don't know if you can read the whole article. Here's the abstract. I don't know if you can read it for free or have to pay for it. It depends. Okay. They further write, an open future appears to be equivalent to indeterminism. The future is open just in case there is more than one physically possible future from the perspective of the present. Determinism, by contrast, precludes our ability to settle a question that is not yet settled because of the question of what we will do in the future is already settled by the past and the laws of determinism. And I think they're talking about causal determinism here. Now, they talk about open future, again, as being the possibility of more than one open future. I call this many possible futures. Actually, it's more than just many. It's a multitude of possible futures. You think there's about the fact that there's billions of people, and each person has a large number of possibilities available to them. You're looking at billions, quadrillions of possible futures. Here's the information philosopher's entry on open futures. Now I'm going to talk about general possibilism. I propose general possibilisms that are any assertions, arguments, conjectures, hypotheses, inferences, postulates, predictions, propositions, theories, and truths about possibilities. Now these are just in alphabetical order and are not necessarily the fully inclusive list. There may be other things that would qualify for the list. They include previously mentioned political possibilism, geographical possibilism, and philosophical possibilism. They also include modal logic, constructor theory, mathematical possible theory, and possibilianism, which is not really a possibilism, it's just a similar spelling. I should have not included that. Okay, modality and modal logic. Modality includes possibility, impossibility, necessity, and contingency. P is a proposition. A proposition is possible if a proposition is true in some possible world. Again, emphasis on some. A proposition is impossible if a proposition is true in no possible world. A proposition is necessary if a proposition is true in all possible worlds. Notice all. And a proposition is contingent if a proposition is true in some but not all possible worlds. Constructor theory. Constructor theory includes hypothetical and counterfactual reasoning, as explained near the end of this video, put forth by David Deutsch and Chiara Marlato, both with the University of Oxford in England. Their theory is about tasks that are possible. Chiara Marlato is author of her book titled The Science of Can and Can't, a physicist's journey through the land of counterfactuals. Here's a couple of her book covers, same book. Mathematical possibility theory is an alternative to probability theory and uses a measure of possibility and necessity between 0 and 1 from Wikipedia. Again, this is Wikipedia's page on mathematical possibility theory. Now, possibilianism is really not a possibilism. It's just a similar spelling. David Eagleman, after his friend Robbie Parrish coined the term, popularized it in his 2009 book, Some, 40 Tales from the Afterlives. Possibilianism rejects both the idiosyncratic claims of traditional theism and the certainty of atheism in favor of a middle exploratory ground. I'm not sure David Eagleman understands what atheism is. There's actually two kinds of atheism. There's hard atheism, which is the belief that there are no gods, versus soft atheism or agnosticism, where there is no belief of the existence of gods. And so maybe I think what happened is that David doesn't like to be called an agnostic or an atheist, so he decided to come up with this term to get people thinking that he's not an atheist. Okay. Here's Wikipedia's entry into Possibilianism. Possibilians are both theist skeptics and atheism skeptics. Hypotheticals and counterfactual. Hypothetical can take the form of a question, what if someone could do differently? And can refer to the present, future, and or the past. A counterfactual is a past tense hypothetical that can take the form of the question, what if someone could have done differently? Hypotheticals and counterfactuals are speculative predictions and are a challenge to prove possible or true. Could do differently and could have done differently are predictions that could result in other unpredicted or unexpected outcomes. Now, the advantage of a counterfactual is that you have the benefit of hindsight, is that you're able to see the consequences or the outcomes of the choice, decision, or action that was actually taken. Whereas if hypothetical, you don't have the advantage of that knowledge. Please comment, like, and share. And have a good day.